All right, and welcome back. We are now going to go through part two. We did not finish part one of looking at Danny August Mason's interview from January 23rd, 2015. This may be the first and the last interview Danny August Mason did, and there's probably some good reasons. So if you've seen the first part, we covered about 15 minutes. Catherine is joining us here as well. Hey, Catherine,
Hey,
always
Fred.
good to see you. And we'll spend as much time as we have here with the time that we have here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a screen share and we're just going to continue on. Catherine, if at any time you want me to pause or stop, I know I specifically, since you said you were going to come on, I specifically put it on this part to make sure I didn't get this wrong with the medical examiner. So I'll play what Danny August Mason says, and then we will go from there. So I'm transitioning. Hopefully everybody can see the wonderful Danny August Mason here. As long as you do on camera, then what I will do is I will maximize this. This is about 1523 here. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Catherine. Here we go. I want to say hi to Ellie. Hey, Ellie, thank you for joining us in the chat. Always nice to have you here. Nice to see you. And Ellie, if you do want to jump on, let me know. You're always welcome to jump on. So here we go.
Haven't really, and from what we're getting from, like I said, from communication with the family and from some other individuals I'm not going to name, who are kind of coming forth with their own story, I'm just going to probably just stick to it as what the examiner said, as it being a
murder-suicide
suicide at this point right now.
Danny,
So that's what I wanted to just pause it there for a second, Catherine.
Okay.
And go back to, because if you notice what he's saying, he's just going to stick to what the medical examiner says. At this point, what has the medical examiner really said? Okay, we're January 23rd. We know, I don't remember when exactly the final report came out, but does the medical examiner say that this was the result of a double murder suicide?
I was just going to go try to pull it up real quick and see when those reports were done. I don't know if they found it out that quickly because they would have to wait for the toxicology reports. But what I find interesting is he's like, oh, well, some stories that some people are making up, that type of thing. Well, everybody kind of has their own thoughts. So really? And then he's like, well, then I'll stick with what the medical examiner has to say. Well, let me see if you even know if I'm pulling it up right now to see when they were signed.
To see what the medical examiner, what the date. I think there's several dates, but I don't believe it was by January 23rd.
They signed them on, Jessica signed hers on February 23rd, and then Dr. Maury signed his portion on March 22nd. So this probably didn't even become available or, to anyone until after that date, because they have to wait for the toxicology reports before they can even come up with anything.
Would they have been given maybe the family and friends a little heads up about, hey, this is what we found? We think the medical examiner saying, I think this is a double murder suicide. I don't see anything where the medical examiner disputes it, but does the medical examiner ever come out and say this is?
Well, I think they put on David's. I think they did list it as suicide on his cause of death.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that they listed it as suicide. Because they're saying that on David's autopsy, they're saying that he shot his wife and his daughter, and then shot himself. And I'm like, how do you know that? You weren't there. And it's like, oh, but whether or not, could the medical examiner have been saying something to the family? Yeah, but I don't think like 5 days after the bodies were found.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
There. When all these guys are out there doing this, what we call the this tour, this like world tour, where they're going out and pretty much saying that David did this. We need to not question it. And you can even see Danny August Mason kind of hints towards some of that. I'm not going to listen to what other people are saying who have their own thoughts and their own views on it. It's like, well, I thought we all had our own thoughts and views on it, but I would have really thought these guys would be the first people out there saying, look, there may be something weird. It's just very odd that they are the first people out here saying this is what happened. David Crowley is guilty. That's what they're basically saying. Within 24 hours, within a couple days, they're out there not only saying it to other people, they're trying to convince everyone else of the same thing, and then getting pretty angry when people question them on it.
And that is such a huge red flag. I mean, everyone jumped on the bandwagon without any proof whatsoever. And by that point, no one had read the autopsy report. Nobody really saw what the ME did or did not do. And the fact that the skull piece, the ME didn't even mention that skull piece. And it is clear as day there, we've been over this a bazillion times, that there are straight lines and you see imprint marks. She doesn't even talk about that. The only thing she says is that it articulates well with the remaining portion of his skull. But they don't even know that at this point. And then to, like you said, constantly push the narrative. Oh yeah, he did this, and they're saying this, and other people might have other ideas, but I'm going to stick with what they're saying when you've never even read the reports. And then, like you said, get angry, downright angry and violent at anybody who says, no, wait a second, we want to question this. So now I'm going, why are you angry? Because people are standing up for your friend. Right. Shouldn't you be standing up for your friend? Shouldn't you be going, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, we kind of had some disagreements, but I knew him. I knew how he was with his wife. But no, instead they're like, well, we don't know why he did it, and we don't see how he could have done it. But okay, if they say that, then damn it, this is the way it's going to be. And
right.
Oh, holy crap.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we get to see something directly from the journal where, you can see David is he's not a big fan of Danny August Mason.
Right.
And that's us first and foremost here. And I'm pretty sure Danny August Mason, because it's pretty apparent that they knew about the deal, at least to some extent, that they felt like they were cheated and they felt David was in the wrong for this. I mean, that's pretty clear. And it's kind of frustrating because it's, that, like you were saying, they've thrown up all these red flags throughout this entire case, especially since the beginning. But the thing is, the reason why they're throwing up these red flags so early is because they're really not David's friends.
How dare you say that?
Right?
Let's see.
Well, Judy was all of our friends too, right?
We were at one point. We were, social gatherers. Star here says, brings up a great point. When Danny is asked about the rear slider unlocked, Danny's reaction told us what we needed to know. It really did. And this was I remember, I wish I knew who it was, but this person contacted me. It was like, you have to listen, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. It is very, very strange. And that's why it was kind of like, for years, I wanted to make sure people had access to this and not really give too much of my commentary and thoughts on it. Because when I watched it, I mean, especially at that point, and it would be great to have a body language expert or something actually watch this video in real time and maybe get some really good thoughts on it. Because when Danny August Mason mentions that or when the slider gets brought up, and I don't know if that was supposed to be brought up, to be honest with you. I don't know if Danny August Mason knew what the questions he was going to be asked or not. But yeah, you can clearly see he is a bit frustrated when that comment is brought up.
Did you show the part about the slider? Was that last week's?
Yeah, it's actually just a few minutes before. If you want me to go back, I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I
if you want me to go back,
I haven't seen it in a while.
Okay, I could try to go back, and we can go over that a little bit here. So let's see. It's probably still.
Yes, it was.
It was an oops moment. Whoops! I did it again. Brittany. It's Brittany Biatch. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back. Yeah, it's like I can probably already find it here too. I forget if someone knows when it was.
About it. We mentioned before that the initial reports here was that it was a murder-suicide. I have reports that some investigators may be calling this suspicious at this point.
That's interesting
that
too.
may just be, people hoping that it's suspicious. But I'm hearing that it may be suspicious, and I also have heard that there is reports of a sliding door that was left unlocked. I don't know how much you can say about the investigation. I know you're following it.
That's the face right there.
He's like, oh
That's the
crap.
face right there. Yeah. This is what they did not want. This was so awesome when we first got, really when Dan first created the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. One of the very first posts, I think, was somebody posted the actual 911, not 911, but this is the police talking back and forth, and this is when the rear slider is actually mentioned. One of the only mentions of it, that rear slider, and so that became one of the biggest talking points, especially for people that were like, maybe there is something weird going on here. That rear slider was one of the main things, and you can clearly see why. But
well, yeah, because if it comes out right away, like this soon, that the rear slider was opened and unlocked, right away, that should tell people that there's a possibility that there was someone else involved.
Right.
Yeah, is who leaves their back door unlocked or and open like that, especially in the winter? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Let's hear what his answer is about the rear slider.
Closely, what can you tell us about that?
The only thing I can confirm on right now is obviously the investigation's ongoing. I haven't seen the reports about it being suspicious on it. Until we get the full amounts, the full actual report from the police and what they've come to it, I haven't really, and from what we're getting from, like I said, from communication with the family and from some other individuals I'm not going to name, who are kind of coming forth with their own story, I'm just going to probably just stick to it as what the examiner said, as it being a
murder-suicide.
Side at this point right now.
Danny,
oh, holy crap.
Oh my god.
Oh, holy crap.
What do you think?
Oh,
Well,
no.
I mean, look at the basics there. I mean, somebody usually their eyes are darting back and forth, left to right, and especially when there's a focus on one specific side. He's trying to come up with a story on the spot, but usually when that's the case, especially lean towards a specific side, it usually means lying.
Well, and that can be true, but that can also not be true. But when you put that together with his and on and I'm going to be here. And,
so it's on it. On it is the key. On it.
Yeah. And where he goes from, okay, now, oh crap, what do I say? And, oh my God. Okay. That's all I can say is holy crap. This is, like William was saying, this right here, his body language, how he's saying it, how he's responding, there are red flags everywhere. So
everywhere, yeah.
Why did the police then not question him? And again, I'm not saying he's guilty, but I'm saying he is behaving in a way that is not consistent with someone who does not have knowledge.
Right.
Yeah. It would be good to go back and look at the date that the police did talk to him, how far out it was. I think they probably talked to him first, and then he did this, and then
but the little bit that they talked to him, that's not an interrogation. They should have brought in interrogation. Kind of sounds rude or like really intense, and sometimes they are. But other times you have to interrogate someone to rule them out as well. They only went and talked to him and chatted with him a little bit. And this is where he's like, they start passing the cops off onto each other. I think Danny says, did you talk to Mitch? And then, and then did you talk to Chris? And Chris, like, did you talk to so-and-so? So they're constantly sending them in this huge loop and never really were they brought in and questioned.
Yeah. I mean, especially after Danny Mason says he was just a quote unquote actor. That's it. And even this Ben Swann, when this first came out, the URL lists Danny August Mason as a co-creator. Right. That's in the actual URL, which is taken down now. You can't find this anywhere else, maybe. So I don't know, but it's pretty interesting. I don't know what happened with Ben Swann. His whole website, I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into that, but it's pretty interesting stuff.
Well, what's more is you can always you can take a look at this guy on YouTube, Enigma. That's all he really does is body language. There was another one that used to be on YouTube as well, but she's not up anymore. But she was really good too. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but Enigma might be one to go and worthwhile, getting in on this.
Interesting. Yeah. How do we do that? Maybe you can help us send it over them.
Yeah, I mean, they're just on YouTube, so you could probably hit them up through there. I think they accept the business inquiries,
Oh,
right? So,
business inquiries. Okay.
You
yeah.
know, like Elle was just saying, it's a cluster of deception. So it's not just one thing, because if one person, if they're being interviewed or talked to, and yes, they can look up, because oftentimes when you recall, you'll look to the right or to the left, and it's just recalling memory. But it's everything. It's the fidgety. It's the
Right.
and this and this and then the too much information, giving too much
Mhm.
detail. Then wait a second, in detail that really doesn't matter. You know, like who cares what other people are saying? The question is what about the rear slider? He talks about everything but the rear
Right.
slider. So there are a lot of things in there that are red flags.
Right.
Yeah, if I could ask Ben Swann anything, it would be like, did you let him know you're going to talk about the rear slider? Because that is one of the most
Didn't seem like
deer in the
it.
headlights moments I've ever seen, and it's pretty interesting because I don't think Danny August Mason does any interview, face or video interviews after this. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. I haven't seen any. I think they were like he was going to be out there front and center and trying to convince people. And if this actor can't do it, then who could possibly do it? So for me, it kind of opened up that door. Like, wow, this guy is an actor. He's stuttering more than I stutter on my worst days. And he shouldn't have to because all he has to do is tell the truth. Now, it's
Mhm.
understandable that there are things that he can't talk about or anything like that. Then don't even do this. Don't be out there. Don't try to
Mhm.
do a damage control video, a propaganda piece, and then all that you're doing is raising more questions. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have contacted me or have watched what we just saw there and like, dude, there's definitely something here. Like if I didn't think there was some quote unquote suspicious activity after watching this, people are just like, what is he doing? What is going on here? Because these guys seem to be, or they try to be so articulate with other issues with Boston bombing and things like that. They have no issues with that, right? It's okay to talk about the whole Boston bombing people. We're not going to worry about their family or their friends or anything like that. We're not going to respect people in these other cases. But when it comes to this case, then all of a sudden they all change. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to be respectful. All of a sudden now we're supposed to wait until the police finish their investigation, which
Right.
we always planned on doing. But these are not guys that waited for these investigations to be finished. These were guys that were telling us all that what they do is they go out there and pretty much see the other side of it. That's what the Gray State was. That's what the Gray State trailer, that's what a lot of things they were working on. That's what it was all doing. It was showing us the other side. And
Yeah, and
here
they
they
had
are
no
selling out.
and they had no problem telling everybody from the get-go that yes, David did this. Oh, and we're so sad. We can't believe that he killed his wife and his child and then he killed himself. But the moment you and Dan come forward and say, "Hey, wait a second, we're gonna question this." Oh, no, you guys, you don't have a right to say anything. You don't know anything. You don't have the police reports.
Right.
Well, why is it okay to slam David, but it's not okay to say, hey, wait a minute, let's kind of question this narrative for a second because we don't have that information. We don't have that proof that he's guilty. But yet that was never okay. It's never been okay to say David is innocent. But the moment you
Right.
say that he's a murderer, everybody on that side is your best friend.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I just saw a comment go by with I think it was Star says something about he should have been on a lie detector. Personally, I'm not a big fan of lie detectors. Those things can be fooled. People can look like they're lying when they're not actually lying. I mean, they're not even really, from what I understood, they're not even admissible in court. They're not something that's going to be. That's something that can be heavily scrutinized real quick. So.
Oh, I knew somebody who had to have consistently have to go in for a test, a lie detector test, and they fooled
Okay.
it every single time by putting a rock in their shoe. Because if you do that, what it does
Mhm.
is it makes your nerves react a certain way. And I'm not quite sure how it exactly works, but they knew with the test lie question, or a test truth question, that they would do that, so then it would register. They fooled it every time, lied to the police, and fooled it
Mhm.
every time.
Right.
Fooled the test, but maybe not the people who were conducting the
Oh no,
test.
no,
Or
they believed it too because they're reading the test. They're
right.
reading how the thing. So they fooled everybody. They lied their butts off the entire time, was doing exactly what they weren't supposed to be doing, but because they were able to put that little thing in their shoe, and again, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they put a rock in their shoe, and yeah, they lied and got through and passed it, even though they were
100%.
breaking their probation the entire time.
Sure. But it's still possible to pass it, and still you can still, as an investigator who's just watching it or rewatching it later, you can use that. You can use it to even trip people up later on too. There's some value to it, I would think. But
I don't know. I'm with.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never taken one myself, but I that's pretty much what I growing up. What I heard is all the different ways to beat them, to fake it.
There are lots of ways to beat them, and
Yeah.
there are people out there who are so good at lying that you just don't know. You have to really catch them on something else and go, "Wow, okay."
Yeah, but after watching what we just saw with Danny August Mason,
he's not good. He's not
I don't know how good he would be.
Like Dan is a liar, I'm sure of it, and I agree with you, Ellie.
Well, the one thing, like with those types of people, that they can lie that well. They can literally trick their body into basically acting in specific ways, so it's able to go right past the lie detector. They're able to go and keep certain kind of tone, facial expression. They're able to basically fool them, almost like fooling their body into believing the lie, but knowing full well it's a lie. You can always do simple things like, if they're not really sure of something, but that if they knew as much as they did, you can always throw some stuff out there. And this could be things that are just totally like, for the most part, they would have been in the know for somebody. And if they're answering like, they know, they're like, oh, this didn't happen, this isn't what happened here, you can start catching them on there. Like, well, if you were there, then here you go. Well, that means you're lying right here. So you can kind of trick them.
Right. And I agree. Someone just said that and like Greg, you were saying too, Danny is just not that good of an actor. I don't think he could have passed it. However, William is so right. I know someone else who they were taking a lie detector test to get a government job, and I won't tell you what kind of government job, but one of the test questions was, to see how you react when you're telling a lie. And one of the test questions was, is the wall black? And it was a white wall. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, they totally passed it. They're looking at a white wall going, yeah, the wall's black. And they're just like, oh crap. So they just stopped it. They're like, we can't use a lie detector test on you. So it just depends on who you are. But I agree, Danny probably would have failed it miserably.
Right. Well, he is a terrible actor, and that's what terrible actors do.
How dare you? How dare you defame the acting skills of a future Oscar, Emmy Award winner, Danny August Mason? I think I'm his only fan. I'm your biggest fan, Danny. All right, here we go.
This guy's a fan.
I don't know, man. It seems like there is I don't know if anyone has ever seen, it's like a 2-minute video. It may still be up on the Gray State channel, and they're basically just kissing Ben Swann's butt. It's basically that. It's like a 2-minute video with Danny August Mason. He's in character and just letting us know how great Ben Swann is. And I thought after this, it's like Ben Swann, a lot of weird things happened to Ben Swann after this, actually. But I don't know. Didn't really hear him say too much about David. I always felt like Ben Swann was more of an old school journalist. And I felt he just kind of, this proved to me like he's, bringing up certain things that he brings up. I don't like how it felt like he was kind of coaching Danny August, not coaching him, but kind of finishing his sentence as we just heard.
It's not compatible.
It's just like, well, Danny Mason was kind of stumbling through it, and as someone, obviously Ben Swann wants, he's got the show that he's doing here, so he wants to kind of keep that flow going. So that's what great hosts do too. So it could just be that.
Right.
All right, let's continue on.
Let me ask you about this, because there is a report that's out now from, I believe it's Canada Free Press. And an interviewer who had Danny on a show says that, and this was back in 2012, so it was a little while ago, but says he had Danny on the show and he was talking to him pre-interview. And in that pre-interview conversation, he jokingly said something about, Danny, I hope you don't have any thoughts of suicide. And he was joking about it in reference to Andrew Breitbart dying and Michael Hastings dying, and just saying off the cuff, I hope that essentially, I hope you're not killed over this project. And he says that David had responded to him and said that no, he had no feelings of suicide and he had no suicidal thoughts. And so they had talked about this prior to the interview. I'm just wondering if you've seen that report and if you can comment on that at all.
That I can't.
See, even there, he doesn't seem as agitated when the rear slider comes up, and though he
Right.
should be, I think. Let me go.
Yeah, if you go back a little bit, you can see that his face. He's kind of looking around. He's kind of like shaking his head a little
Who's he
bit.
looking at here? I think there was somebody else here, and when I
Yeah.
first watched this, it looked like there is somebody else here. He's not the only one here. Somebody else, and probably multiple people, maybe coaching him or helping him, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. I've had the same feeling
His
when I've
acting
talked
coach.
with some of these Gray State goons. I had the exact same feeling that I wasn't just talking with them. I was talking with several people.
Right.
This is how they roll.
That no,
Absolutely.
he had no feelings of suicide and he had no suicidal thoughts. And so they had talked about this prior.
Right
Eyes
there.
widened.
No
Like,
feelings,
oh
just no
crap.
feelings. Like what? Wow. Oh, he doesn't
Oh
really know
crap.
what.
Crap.
They thought they scrubbed all those, but apparently they missed one or two.
Prior to the interview. I'm just wondering if you've seen that report and if you can comment on that at all.
That I can't comment because I don't know, and I don't totally. I'm not familiar with the interview on it, so I won't be able to comment on.
That would be news to you. You weren't familiar with that conversation prior to.
I'm not. No.
Breaking. No, he knows about it. He just
That
can't
was funny
comment
because
on
he even called him out on it.
he can comment on David's death, and he can speculate on David's death and slander David and call him a killer, a child killer, a wife killer, and
Right.
and a coward, because one of the most cowardice things you can ever do is kill yourself. So he has no problem commenting on that.
Right.
But he's not going to comment on some of these basic facts that would contradict any notion that David would ever kill himself. Pretty
Well, it's funny, like I was saying, because Ben Swann literally corrects him.
He's like, what? How
He's
dare
like,
you
no,
correct me?
you're prior knowledge. What the hell are you talking about?
I would if the only part of that conversation I would have been familiar with would have been on what would have taken place during the part of the interview. I know that knowing David, any point, I mean, of the suicide and the extreme of the tragedy doesn't, like I said, it doesn't for us. It still
He's
doesn't make
stumbling like
sense.
Biden.
Danny, I just want to ask you this. Did you guys ever have this conversation? And the reason I ask that is because, look, I've been asked this question many times before. A lot of people have asked me dozens and dozens of times, do you feel safe? Do you worry about being killed for what you're doing? They jokingly say, are you suicidal? And they don't say it making a joke out of suicide. They say it, in reference to Andrew Breitbart. They say it in reference to Michael Hastings. And they say, look, I hope that you are safe in what you're doing. And so they ask the question, you're not feeling suicidal, are you? I'm just wondering, did you guys ever have this conversation about him fearing for his life, feeling threatened? Is that a conversation about death that you guys ever?
If people don't know who Ben Swann is, I won't spend time on it, but please go and look up this guy. Look up some of the things that he's done, some of the confrontations, things like. There's a reason why people have asked him if he would ever commit suicide. It's a standard thing. It's almost become a normal thing where, and like I said before, many times it takes 3-4 seconds to just say, I will never commit suicide. Put it on record. If somebody does try to frame you for a suicide, then you'll have the evidence right there.
Oh, I might as well say it now since my Twitch channel was taken down, and I was saying it pretty regularly. Yeah, I'm not suicidal, nor am I homicidal, nor is my family homicidal or suicidal. So if anything happens, I mean, you know what to do.
Look
it's
into
that
it.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, look into it.
Well, and the thing that gets me is we know that David went on Alex Jones's show and stated he was not suicidal. And
right.
Was Danny with him during that interview? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was.
So then he does know. He knows exactly that David stated that. So why would he kill Ben Swann?
Did David state it during that interview, the Alex Jones interview?
I'm almost positive it was Alex Jones and it was broadcast. Right
there was a Hagman and Hagman news report that came out where Hagman, one of the Hagmans, but basically said that he said he talked with David offline about this, and David told him that he was not prone to suicides. Sean Wright has said the same thing. Sean Wright is on record also saying the
Well,
same
I
thing
do
about
have
David
this
Crowley.
clip saved somewhere. I mean, because
Okay.
as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my goodness. But it was broadcast. I'm almost positive it was Alex Jones. And
Okay.
again, that
I'd love to get the quote.
yeah,
Maybe you can help
I'll
me
see,
find that later.
I'll see if I can find that, because
I
that's the
appreciate
first
it.
thing I'm like going, wait, he's telling people publicly less than a year before he's dead that he's not suicidal. And so then all of a sudden they're like going, okay, now not only is he suicidal, now he's homicidal.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I know, well, there's a couple
Thank you, sir.
speeches and things like that that he has done. So yeah, it would be good to calculate to add that, because I only have two on the record. So obviously there's a few that I'm missing here where David has said that, or where it's been commented that David said it. But to get it directly from him is obviously going to
Yep,
be
it was from
the
him.
best way. Awesome.
Thank you guys for having me though. I gotta get back to work myself. So
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for
of
joining.
course. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
All right. All right. Let's keep going here.
Brad.
We've had that conversation early on it, and this is when. But then there was a period when David started putting distance between his friends and his family on it, and that his. I know that he was going through a personal transition, and I don't know if he was battling a lot of the bigger pictures.
I want to go back for a second there, where he was saying that David was distancing himself from his friends and from his family, because there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of stuff about that, which, the more that I look at it, it's not as black and white as they want to make it sound.
Right.
Why do they just want to say, yeah, he was distancing himself from his friends and family? First of all, I don't believe that he was distancing himself from his family. All right, this family, if let's just look at David's side, not Komel's side, because we know there's an issue with Komel's side. Komel had an issue with her own parents. They were not talking. At any point, Komel could have picked up a phone and talked with them. So I'm not buying anything that David was keeping her away from talking with them or anything like that. If she wanted to, she could have. Whatever the issue was, whatever the real things that were going on. And I'm just guessing here. Obviously, I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of this. But a lot of these guys weren't either. But they never bring up any of the stuff that we have read in David's journal that show why he was distancing himself from these quote unquote friends, because they were leeching off of him, because they wanted things from him, because they were looking to him to be this leader. They were looking to him, and he's a young father. He's a new homeowner. He's, a husband. They've only been married. They haven't been married for that long when you really think about it. They're both young, and they're trying to get their life going, and they have this great opportunity for David to get his foot into a door that is almost almost impossible to get yourself into, to the actual Hollywood door. Many people have done it. Many people have done it and turned away from it. Many people have gotten close, and it didn't happen. And that's where David was. This was about to happen for him. This is going to be a life-changing thing for him, for his work, for everything. And he would be a credible person because he is a person that served this country. That makes him very, very credible, I think. I think it would have been a lot. And they were going after soldiers right around that time. They were going after many soldiers, especially if they were speaking out against the wars. They were really going after those soldiers. It didn't matter if they were current, former, et cetera, et cetera. I think the whole Vietnam thing, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, these people, these evil people, really learned a lot from the whole Vietnam, and how powerful a soldier who served his country or her country can come back and really explain to you what the war is like and how wrong it is for us to be in these other countries. It doesn't have to be that, all the soldiers are evil and they just want to run around and kill people and all that stuff. It's a very complicated thing. And for people like me who have not served, who just, look at this stuff and obviously can see, the good side, can see the bad side and everything, it opens my eyes when I hear some of these stories directly from a soldier who was there, who was fighting in these wars that they did not agree with. And by the time they realized that we should not be here, what could they do? What could they really do? but be court-martialed or something like that. So anyways, little off topic there, but I just feel like David would have been a very credible person. And
Well, and I think that's why I fight for David and his character and his name, because at the time I was married and my husband was sent over to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. My brother Russell was over there during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I mean, I know what it's like to be the wife of a soldier that's in the middle of a war, and it was hell. And what I kind of not only relate to David, but definitely to Komel. And when her husband was over there, I get it. And I understand the shit that these men went through, not just over there, but when they had to come back. And it wasn't from the people. Thank God the American people really embraced our soldiers. And there was nothing greater than when our husbands are coming home and you've got people standing at the airport saying, thank you for your service. I mean, it was amazing. Vietnam veterans didn't get that. However, it's what the military did to them, not only over there, but when they came home, and they're still doing to them today. And David had the guts and the courage to say, not only tell people what really was going on, but he stood up against it. And now his movie is incorporating some of, and not everything about our military is bad. I'm not saying that, because I love my country and I would fight and die for my country. But we're not perfect. We have some really screw people that do things. But David was a real soldier. I mean, in every I don't know, definition of the word, every way you could look at it, he loved his country. He fought for his country, but he also loved his family, and he loved his wife, and he loved his child, and he wanted to show what he had learned. And because of that, then all of a sudden he became the enemy of the state, so to speak. And maybe, you know what I mean? In the eyes of a lot of people, he became the enemy of the state. And it took courage for him to do that. And to see people like Danny August Mason and Sean Wright and Mason Hendricks and, Chris Peck, all these other people, all of them, I can't name all of them, but, to take him and take his name, and then without thought and without even a shred of remorse, call him what they've called him, is disgusting.
I agree. And thanks, Star. I think I know which one. I think that's from the Ron Paul Fest, or the Paul Fest, whatever. But yeah, I'll definitely go and find that. I do remember, I think I have that somewhere too. So we'll go and find that and add that to the list of times David says he'll never kill himself. There it is. All right, let's keep going on here. All right, back to our buddy.
Questions on spiritualism and his placement within society, and also as a filmmaker. So I don't know if that part, but the discussions that we had before, I know that he wouldn't be suicidal, because David was one of the strongest guys I've ever.
There it is right there. I'm gonna go back a few seconds there. It's very important. Listen to what he's saying here.
That part, but the discussions that we had before, I know that he wouldn't be suicidal.
Discussions that we had before, I know that he wouldn't be suicidal. Here we have another person who's saying David wouldn't be suicidal, while at the same time saying David was suicidal.
Yeah. And it's interesting, this choice of words. Our discussions at the time.
Oh,
suicidal.
Nice
so
catch.
it's like, yeah, you got to catch what he's saying. So then it's kind of like, well, yeah, he never said he would do that then, but it leads the person who's going to now go, well, then what about now? Maybe he's right. Yes, back to the deceiver. I agree, Star.
His breathing. Oh, I didn't catch his breathing.
Yeah, he does the catching his breath. Watch
his face reaction. Did you see his shoulder? No, what's the shoulders?
The shrugging. Yeah.
The shrugging. Interesting.
It's all deceptive. That's all deceptive behavior.
So strange. He means suicidal. I guess maybe it's a Freudian slip or something, but he said not suicide. That's all I know. All right.
Because David was one of the strongest.
I'll go back.
So I don't know if that part, but the discussions that we had before, I know that he wouldn't be suicidal, because David was one of the strongest guys I've ever met before in my life, not only intellectually, but just physically all around. When you think of alpha males, he was like to the T of that. So that's why, and like I said, for me to say that it was a suicide and dual murder, it's hard enough to actually have those words come out of my mouth. Do I truly believe that? I mean, I'm going to look at the reports. I'm very analytical. I know David, but at the same time, I got to look at the bigger picture and all the facts, and from the information that's coming in and what David was doing and kind of where he was emotionally at that time. Some of it is up to speculation because the contact with him became less and less in the course of a couple months ago, and that just wasn't me. It was his family and his friends on the same time. So
he
like
was,
I said,
he was to some
I
extent.
just want to say he's talking about that the contact became less and less, right? So the contact, let me go back where we are. So the contact became less and less. He doesn't explain, doesn't give you any context or anything because he does not, because that would show, okay, well maybe this distancing had nothing to do with David committing these crimes. Maybe the distancing actually had something to do with David and these guys having some sort of a falling out or something like that, right?
Well, and it's very hi Rick, cryptic. That's so just happened. I just wanted to use the word, not cryptic, but cryptic. That
Cryptic.
he does this. It's very, he's very sneaky about pulling the attention away from him. On one aspect, it's like, okay, yeah, we really weren't close, but then all of a sudden, he's choosing his words carefully, but at the same time, he doesn't know what he's saying because he feels flustered. So that's why I think he does a lot of his, and he does a lot of sharp intakes, this type of thing, just before he's about ready to go off on something he knows is not necessarily true. It's a tell. That's his tell. But when you notice when he's talking about how David being a strong person and emotionally, mentally, did you see how calm and how direct and his words he wasn't fumbling over? And then the very next time when he's going to be deceptive or come up with his own little ideology, it's the shoulder shrug, the sharp breath, and then the ja 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 ja. He has definite tells.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did. Tony mentioned this. Nice Mason hand sign at 1919. He is holding the mask. I'm not even catching any of this stuff that people
I
are.
don't see that either.
I'm not catching any of this. I'm looking at what does he have behind him. If you look at this screen, well, I guess I got to go
I
back
want to
full
see him
screen
holding
shot.
the mask.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is like a Masonic
Oh, it
symbol or
is.
something.
It is. Yes, that is.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
do that too. It's just a nervous habit that I do, but that is
I'm
correct. That is a Freemason sign.
Okay, I didn't know that. I don't know. I may do that. If you look in this, if you're looking at the camera, look on the far left-hand side behind him. There's like a door. And I don't know if anybody can see the cursor or not, but there's a door there or something or a window, whatever it is. And then over here, there's a spiral
Well,
thing. So the
can you remove
spirals,
the comment so I can
that
see?
would probably help. Yeah, that's probably help. Let's see.
Just little.
That may
Okay.
help. Okay, so see that little circular thing back there?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you pay attention to that, it's kind of like one of those like windy little road things. It's like a spiral, right? That kind of goes through with this. So it can be associated with mind control, symbolisms, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen it associated with a lot of different things. It's just interesting that he had that back there.
Yeah.
That's all. That is all. Let's see. Let's keep.
Withdrawing.
Yeah, well, he was withdrawn, but again,
But that wasn't unusual.
No, it wasn't unusual because I want to reinstate that he was coming up with a couple of new directions for what
I'm
he
gonna go
wanted to
back
pursue with
since
Free States.
go back just a little bit.
It is up to speculation because the contact with him became less and less in the course of a couple months ago, and that just wasn't
Couple
me. It
months
was his
ago.
family and his friends
So
on the same time. So,
So he
like I
was
said,
with,
he says a couple months ago, but their thing really started back in May. I think it started as early as May 2014,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
even earlier. Because why is David writing Danny August Mason's character out of the latest script? The
Yep.
May 2014 script does not have Danny August Mason's character in it.
Nope.
Why?
And
Why?
plus, the uneasiness at the birthday party had nothing to do, and they tried to make it about David and Kamel, had nothing to do with the two of them, and had everything to do with David and them. It was the interactions between them.
Right, right. And it's interesting how he makes it, it's not, oh, he wasn't just distancing himself from us. It was from the family too.
Yeah, see, that's what
So,
I was talking about, that
right,
cryptic. He's throwing stuff in there, like, to take it off. Okay, so if he just says, oh, well, he was distancing himself from me, then all of a sudden the eyes would then go whoom, onto him. But so
right,
he throws in other deflectors.
right. Good point.
Was to some extent withdrawing.
Yeah, well, he was withdrawn, but like
But
again,
that wasn't unusual.
No, it wasn't unusual because
See, again, it wasn't unusual for him to withdraw, yet he withdraws. It's unusual. All this stuff is supposed to lead us. It's really for weak-minded people. They're really just trying to attract the weak-minded people who really don't understand anything about this case, who just want to believe that this was another case of a soldier who went crazy and killed his family, and he happened to be on the other side. He happened to be a libertarian, a Ron Paul guy, which was one of the worst things you could be at that time for many
Right.
of these people, because you had people on the left or blue people, then you had the right and the red and everything. So all of the Obama people wouldn't like David. All of the Republicans who did not like Ron Paul because they felt like he was stealing votes from them, they wouldn't like David. This guy is found himself right in the middle, and he didn't care. He didn't care about that. So it's pretty interesting. And I thought a lot of these guys were right there too. I thought they were all kind of Ron Paul guys too, and I don't know. I mean, or libertarians and everything, but this is not the behavior of libertarian. It's not the behavior of freedom lovers. It's not the behavior of people that love this country. It's not the behavior of people that understand in this country, in the greatest country ever, you are innocent until proven guilty. Their behavior does not match any of that stuff, even 7 years later. And it's more shameful now because they have more access to all of those documents, to everything that we know about David Crowley, and they still want to act like David Crowley is guilty. It's very shameful.
I want to reinstate that he was coming up with a couple of new directions for what he wanted to proceed with Gray State. And when he gets in that mode, I just let him get in that mode. And I've been with him in that part of that mode when he gets kind of into the creative state. And it's one of those things you got to let him be, let him process, let him get all the things down that he wants to show you. So he's able to actually explain it to you fully without you asking questions. And then him becoming frustrated on it because, like I said, his mind works like 1,000 miles an hour and everything. So, and also with that, it's just that with the news and everything, and I can see how getting that news out and people relating that I'm not suicidal, and with a lot of people who are within the world of conspiracy and saying that he was, outed by the government. I don't think he actually was outed by the government on this because of, like I said, the relationship and you being an outsider and us being close family. But I know that we're working thoroughly on investigating it, and we know that we have a long road ahead of us.
That's too much.
Do you
That's
see him
too much.
tripping over his words left and right? I mean,
A
this
little.
this is one of his tells. He's lying out his butt.
Yeah, it's talking point after talking point, jumping over talking points on top of
Yes.
other talking points. But I just want to go back there for a few. There's a few things said there.
That news out and people relating that I'm not suicidal, and with
He's almost saying he's almost discrediting the news that there is evidence that David says he's not suicidal.
Yeah.
a lot of people who are within the world of conspiracy and
Within the world of conspiracy, which is what this guy has based his whole thing on. This is what all these people who have been leeching off of David have based their whole existence on.
Yeah.
Is the conspiracy. And then all of a sudden they're like these higher, I don't know. This is too much for me. That's too much.
saying that he was, outed by the government. I don't
Outed, and that's the other thing. That was the main thing. They had to create two sides. We
Yep.
have the Democrats, we have the Republicans, and that's it. Nothing else matters. This is kind of the same thing. We have either David did it or the government did. That's it. Those are the only choices you guys are given.
I don't think he actually was outed by the government on this because of, like I said, the relationship, and you being an outsider and us being close family.
Because of the relation. What is he talking about there? I don't understand that. Because of the relationship. He wasn't outed by the government.
Well, he then is, I think, going to try to go on and explain what he means because, and then he's saying, well, because of course Ben's an outsider, but he of course is family. Well, he's not family. David didn't want anything to do with him. It's not family.
Didn't he just say like a minute ago David was distancing himself from
Yes, yeah.
All of a sudden he's
yeah, we would know because we're family.
Okay.
No, you don't.
Makes sense.
But I know that we're working thoroughly on like investigating.
That's a key word right there. They're working thoroughly on investigating. They're citizen investigators, just like Dan and myself and everyone else.
Well, and you're talking about his body language. Look at his face right now. That is a face that he's trying to convey sincerity. Believe him when he says that they're going to be looking into this, and it's all crap.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else. What else does my buddy have to say here?
It, and we know that we have a long road ahead of us.
The thorough investigation thing is so interesting because that is exactly what the police will say, that they did a thorough investigation. It's also what Kenneth Maines says when Dan Hinnon hired Kenneth Maines to as a private investigator. We should have just paid Steven Sanzeri the money. We could have got much more out of a real PI.
Yeah, you know what? And this is something that I don't think gets stated enough about Kenneth Maines.
Yeah.
Oh my God! That man should not even have a license. He admits especially when it came back, the report came back, and Dan was like, and he's like, okay, I read the reports, and I think according to the reports that yeah, he did it. And then we're like, well, yeah, if you only read the reports and read what they say, why would you think otherwise? So we're like, we had questions, and then Dan presented with those questions. Well, what about this? Did this and this and this add up? Oh, I didn't look at that. Oh, I didn't even know that was there. Oh, there are photos? Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't read that. Oh, I guess I'll go back and read it again. He never went back and read it, never once answered any of the questions, and admitted he didn't read and look at the photos and then compare notes. He just read some reports and said, oh, well, yeah, the reports are correct. No, they wrote the reports. Yeah, that they did. But the report, I mean, the guy was an absolute nincompoop boob.
Well, he also watched Eric Nelson's film. Give him some credit for that.
And that didn't raise questions. I mean, and again, this tells me that he didn't do any research at all, even on that, because I found that article where they said we were leading it. We had a directive, and we wanted to make sure that people followed what we wanted. And when they did, we were happy with it. So it was not about presenting a case with facts. They had a narrative, led toward that narrative, and when people followed that narrative, they considered it a success. That's not investigation, and that's not a documentary. That's a smear campaign. And the fact that Kenneth Maines, the numbnut, couldn't figure that out, and the fact, again, I don't like him. And it's not because he said, David, if he had said, okay, I looked at this photo and I compared this and I read, and here's why this makes sense, I could have respected that. And I think we all would have said, oh, okay, cool. Maybe we were wrong. We'll go. But to not do any investigation at all, to read one report, which took him forever to do because he wasn't reading it and wanted to come up with a conclusion anyway. He just stole money is all he did. He stole money from Dan and walked away, patting himself on the back. And then you've got those who are like saying David's guilty going, oh yeah, see, even he said it. This guy, he has no credibility whatsoever. None.
Right.
Because when we asked him certain questions about certain pieces of evidence, he's like, oh, they did that? Oh, that was in there? Don't tell me you investigated anything if you don't know a blatant piece of evidence. Sorry. I guess I don't like him.
I guess not. No, I kind of gleaned that a little bit, but yeah,
Sorry, not sorry.
just a little bit there. All right, let's continue on. Let's
And
continue.
it's going to take a lot for us to fully digest the actual claim of a.
To fully digest, it's gonna take a lot to digest. Well, they ate this sucker hook, line, and sinker. They opened up their mouth and just digested all of this shit. And what came out of their ass? The same shit. It's the
Exactly.
same old, same old.
Murder-suicide at that point.
Murder suicide at that point. At that point. At that point. From day one. It's just baffling to me how they can question so many other things. Not gonna question this. Shameful. And really shows their true colors. These people don't care about truth. They don't care about what is really happening here. It's all about them.
So, yeah, until I get all the facts in, and I know that his family feels the same way, and I know.
They said that, and so we waited. We watched this interview and waited for the facts. The facts came out, and what did they do with the facts? They completely ignored them. Why would you do that if you care about the facts?
His close friends feel the same way. Like everybody else, it still doesn't sit right because we don't want to believe it in it, and but we just don't want people to do anything stupid on it and use it for a justification for some other tragedy.
Danny,
Which is what they did. Which is what they basically did, is they used it to make themselves look like a victim when people started questioning, how could you guys believe this theory? How could you guys ever buy into this, that your friend did this? There's a child killer out there, however you want to look at it, whether it's David or whether it's somebody else. There needs to be some factual evidence for the common person to understand who did this here. The police have not given us that. The friends have not given us that. The family has not given us that. They can speculate and they can think whatever they want about David. All right, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about what proves that we don't have to worry about a child killer out there. Is there anything? And in order to do that, we have to be able to say, this is what proves David did it. And if we can't prove David did it, then we can't just act like David did it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Makes sense to me.
Well,
maybe I'm living in a dream world.
Absolutely. It really does make sense.
All right.
I can't do this. I'm so busy touching my chin.
I'm just going to keep my hand on my chin from now on and go from there.
We wrap up here, and I thank you so much for your time and for this conversation today. There are a lot of fans of Gray State, of the project, certainly of David and what he was doing, fans of yours, people who have stood with you all and supported this project for a long time. And I know the question is going to be raised, and so I would be remiss if I did not ask you, where does the project stand? What can you speak to as far as that goes? What do people need to know about where it goes from here? Because this project obviously bigger than just you or even just David. It is a project and a labor for a lot of folks. Just wondering what you can tell us as far as the future of Gray State.
For all the fans who've been supporting us, we couldn't have done it without the help with you guys. I know that we're going to be, and this is going to be also the representatives of Gray State. For our own personal dealing with the matter and coping and making sure we're at a good spot, we're going to go black for a while until we can fully understand where the direction's going to be.
I'm gonna stop right there. This thing where they talk about going dark. This was a key moment here for me. It's like, wow, you guys are going dark. So you're gonna make your comments and you're going to accuse this man and then go dark? How about go dark first? How about just keep your mouth shut? Don't say anything. Let the investigators do their job and let's all just look at what is happening here. But look at how quickly they were just like, no, we need to make sure. They wanted to steer this to anyone. Any groups, the Facebook groups. We had a Facebook group and a Facebook page. These idiots contacted both of the owners of the Facebook page, which is Justice for David Crowley of Gray State. created by Thomas Lapp, and they contacted Dan Hinnon, the creator of the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. They contacted both of them wanting admin rights. They wanted to control these two groups, or the group and this page. But then they're going to go dark. You know why they went dark? Because nobody was buying their crap. They had to go dark. Because if they kept talking, if they kept running their yappers, it would only, and probably the police probably told them this too, like, you guys are not doing us any favors. You're actually making this whole thing worse, which I believe they actually were, especially this particular interview right here really opened up my eyes. Remember, I'm 7 days in, not even 7 days in at this point watching this. Knowing, I knew a little bit about Ben Swann. I've seen Ben Swann on, I think on Alex Jones, and I've seen, some other things that Ben Swann has done. I still like Ben Swann, but it's just like, wow, this is really it. You guys, you guys are making this whole thing worse. You're not helping your case. You're not helping anything. You're just raising more questions, not only about what the official investigation, what the official narrative is, what these guys who were right there with David. It raises speculation towards them, and I think once they realized that, that's when they decided to go dark.
Yeah, and two, it's like, yeah, how dark could they have gone when they're going straight to the page and not only, and then sending you messages because you've posted that from Mason Hendricks. Plus, we've seen what Sean Wright has said is vulgarity and coming out and calling, basically telling you, the world that you and Dan are complete a-holes because you're torturing everybody.
It's our fault.
Like, you're standing up for a man, and that's torturing somebody, but it's okay, and you're all right by calling him a murderer without any proof whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, their self-justification is amazing.
It's really interesting. There's only a few more minutes here, people. Thank you all for suffering with us. I appreciate that. I don't have to suffer myself by myself. Here we go.
Because a lot of the vision behind Gray State was David, and we don't know how to, until the extent we can get the full idea where
we don't know what to do, is what he's basically saying. We have no idea what to do now.
David wanted to go with it. I want to get to that point and then make sure we can stick and make the best, the purest, best vision that David wanted.
That's the key right there. This is the proof that we were looking for, that we were looking at. They wanted to make sure that this project moved forward. So here's the biggest question. Here's one of the biggest questions that I've had is, how can they move forward with this? They're going to move forward, try to move forward with a project that is associated with someone they are labeling as a child killer, as a domestic abuser, a soldier who went crazy and killed everybody, who snapped. That's the project they want to move forward with? I mean, they don't, it just doesn't make any sense to me why they would want to do that. I never understood that.
For it, because that's what David deserves. 100%.
That's what David deserves. No, if David is a child killer, if David is a coward who killed himself and killed his wife, he doesn't deserve anything. He does not deserve to have his movie or have his project or have his name continued on or blasted or anything like that. No. If David is guilty, then the project should die with him. It's a failed project by somebody who failed his family, failed him himself, failed this country, and failed everybody who was following him, whoever his followers were. This is really weird to me. This was one of the main talking points, and you brought it up, Catherine, about the date. I think the first, and I could be wrong, I'll have to check my records, but I think the first time Sean Wright contacted me is actually the day after this interview happens. I think he contacted me on January 24th. That would have been one day after this interview happened. The interview hadn't aired yet. The interview doesn't air until the 27th. But I wanted to make sure that, if we had a date and a time, and thanks to Zach Carter, we definitely do, a date and a date when this interview was actually made, not when it was posted. So it was made on the 23rd, posted on the 27th, 2015.
Being any kind of sidestepping that at all. I think there will be something that will come from this. I don't know what it will be right.
What do we have that came from this? We have Eric Nelson's film. That's what came from this. Go and look up who are the producers, executive producers, co-producers of Eric Nelson's film, A Gray State. Those people made money off of David's death, off of Komel's death, off of a 5-year-old child's death. They made money off of that. Don't even come at me and try to accuse me of making money off of anything.
Not only did they make money, but then they nominated themselves for an award at Hollywood.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I missed that one.
Oh, yeah, I looked into it. They nominated themselves.
They nominated themselves for for like the best documentary of 2017 or something.
I think so. Whatever it was, but it was like, oh, holy cow! And again, it's okay with everyone from that side of the argument. It's okay that they all make all this money. But if you do a book and you give it away, and if somebody wants to buy it in print, they can. All of a sudden, you're the horrible person.
Of course. How dare I? Because I'm not a part of their crew. I'm not a part of their fan club. Right? I'm on the outs.
Right, because if you had written everything and used their narrative, they would be praising you and probably handing you cash.
Yeah, you're right. They'd be throwing money at me while I'm on a pole dancing. They would throw that money right.
The pole.
Without the pole. That's too funny. Okay, let's. Danny's looking. There's some great comments. I know I'm really trying to catch all these comments, but not catching them all. Gotta catch them all. What is that from? Pokemon. All right, almost done here.
Right now, but I know that we won't stop at it. I know that it will take.
We won't stop at it. We won't. Yeah, and it only takes him a couple months, and then he's trying to continue it. If you listen to the interview Dan Hinnon did with Michael Boggio, which is the president of the Michael Entertainment Group, the guys that David was working with when we talk about the $25 million budget, when we talk about this deal, this Hollywood deal that David had up until he died. The only reason that the Hollywood deal ended was because David died. When we talk about that, we're talking about Mike Boggio. And if you watch that, if you just listen to it, you can hear where Mike Boggio talks about that even after David died, people were still trying to pitch him the Gray State Project. They were still trying to pitch it to him as this is something that we can do. They were showing him different reels, and we can get into that with Joe Biggs and some other interesting things related to Danny August Mason. But they were trying to move forward with this. And I'm just like, are you guys that brain dead? Do you guys not?
Appalling.
It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I was on a phone call with Mason Hendricks at the time when I learned about this, and I showed him. I sent Mason Hendricks a couple screenshots of what Danny August Mason was doing, and according to what he said, he had no idea. He was actually pretty upset with it. To the point where he said if Danny August Mason continues down this road, that Mason Hendricks would deliver Danny August Mason's head to me on a platter. Obviously, I don't think he physically meant he's going to cut Danny August Mason's head off and then send it to me.
No.
But there is something there. It's like, well, what do you have on Danny August Mason that could actually figuratively put Danny August Mason's on a head where I would use it and do something with it? What do you have on Danny August Mason? What does he have on you? Because Danny August Mason pretty much contacted me saying something very similar. So there's a lot of infighting. There was a lot of infighting that was going on and everything, and I'm not exactly sure what was happening during this time. And that would have been, around 2016, 2017, right around the time when Eric Nelson's film came out. It was a pretty crazy time there. But so there were some weird things that were going on where the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. Danny August Mason was posting I think he on because he had access to the Gray State their YouTube channel, so he posted something that he was not supposed to post, a little 2 minute, 3 minute trailer or something like that, and Sean Wright got all bent out of shape and all this stuff. So there's just all of this weird infighting with all of these guys that pretty much gives you a glimpse. At that time, it gives you a glimpse into what was going on with them and David Crowley, right? Imagine how much they were trying to take credit for all of this stuff with David Crowley when they were all infighting afterwards. It's like you guys are fighting over a project created by somebody that you accused of being a child killer, and you want to take his project and do something with it. I just never understood that. I know I've said that too many times.
The Gray State will take a new shape and form, but we won't.
The Gray State will take a new shape and form, and that's exactly what they do. Danny August Mason created something called Dream State, and I think that is kind of his spinoff of Gray State. And he tried to lay some claims to David Crowley's work and everything, and that didn't really work out well for him either. Then he became a Freemason. Then he had some domestic issues, some criminal issues too.
He was, twice for domestic violence. Felony charges pressed against him twice.
Isn't it interesting how you have at least two of these guys who have claimed that David is a domestic abuser, and there's actually facts that they are. That's pretty interesting.
Yep.
Compromise. I know that because I won't in general, because I feel like I'll be compromising a good friend and a visionary, and that's what David was. And I know that there's been a lot of pour out and people wanting to help, and if they want to help, what they can do is that Dan Crowley, David's brother.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, you gotta hear this part here. This has since been taken down. This GoFundMe. I'll just let him talk.
And I know that there's been a lot of pour out and people wanting to help, and if they want to help, what they can do is that Dan Crowley, David's brother, we've been meeting with him a lot just in this time of need, and we set up a GoFundMe campaign for Komel, David's wife, for Rainey, because Komel's mother is currently.
They set this up for Komel and for Raniya? No, they didn't set this up for Komel and for Raniya. This is all for Komel's mom.
Wow.
I'll keep going.
For Rainey, because Komel's mother is currently on her deathbed, and she's dying from cancer, and they don't have any life insurance, and they're in Waco, Texas, and their bills are over somewheres of $5 million right now, and we know
this is crazy.
That is such a lie.
There's so many. It's just talking points.
And she wasn't even on her deathbed. She didn't, unfortunately she did pass away, but that was this last year or two. Back then she was not on her deathbed.
Right.
Oh.
Right. At this point, but that's what they were being. So who was telling them this? And the other thing is, well, he always says we. It's we, right? It's this whole group of people.
Yeah,
we know
he's
who the cast character is. Right. We were in contact with David's brother, right? With Danny Crowley. And they're creating the whole thing, or Dan Crowley, with the most suspicious thing, the most weird thing that Dan Crowley Jr. ever did was create a GoFundMe page for Komel's mom. I don't know if he ever met Komel's mom. Did he know Komel's mom at all?
Danny August Mason just said, and we helped. We created this page. Well, yeah, why would they? What does Komel's mom have to do with any of this? And then try to use David and Komel. I mean, her mom, they had insurance. They could deal with it. Like every other American in the world, we have to deal with our medical bills. And wow, I'm sorry. This is going to piss me off. I'm going to shut up.
Medical bill, $5 million is a lot for medical bills. Where does that number come from? And second of all, why does Komel's family ask Dan Crowley to take this GoFundMe page down?
Yeah,
Why
weren't they
was this even
upset when they
created?
found out about it? Weren't they like, wait a second, don't do this. Why are you doing this? They
Yeah.
never even talked to them about it. It was like almost an insult to the family.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, come on. They don't. Do you really think that they needed that much of $5 million?
Yeah, no, they didn't.
$5 million, really?
And it wasn't in the name of them, it was in their name.
Yeah,
It was
this
in
all
Dan,
went in. This
yeah,
all went
Dan
to Dan
Jr.'s
Crowley
name.
Jr. Right. It's just weird. It's just like, yeah, this is why you guys need to go dark. You shouldn't have done any of this. You're not helping the investigation. You're doing a pretty good job at, raising many eyebrows, but you're not doing a very good job at just letting the police do what they do and figure out what happened here.
Yep.
It's really odd, really odd. But this GoFundMe thing, I think, is one of the most. It doesn't matter how many times I learn about this, or listen to this, or hear people talk about this back then. It's so frustrating. Let's go back.
Because Komel's mother is currently on her deathbed, and she's dying from cancer, and they don't have any life insurance, and they're in Waco, Texas, and their bills are over somewheres of $5 million right now. And we know that we probably won't hit that mark with what we have, but to make something good come from this, we would like people, if they can, and I think you should have the link with you, Ben. And if you could put it up there on your site, that'd be great. Whatever they can do to kind of funnel that and just keep the Crawleys in their thoughts, the Komel's family in their thoughts too. And just know that it could be a little while, but it's not going to stop us in our tracks right now. We just have to take some time so we could grieve and just take care of
Grieve.
ourselves first.
This
Because
is
if
how
we
you
don't,
grieve.
then what we try to come out with the idea with Grace and the vision that David had will not even come close to it. And the last thing I want to do, and everybody else associated with part of the team, we do not want to let the fans down and not get what we wanted to out originally. If David
They don't want to let the fans down, but they have no idea with telling the fans that David is a murderer, is a child killer. No problem with that, but we don't want to let you guys down. We don't
Right.
have any facts to back up any of these things they're saying about David, but we don't want to let you down.
Yeah, we
So
have no
we're
problem
gonna.
financially using David's name, but
There
by
you
the
go.
way, he was a killer. But
There
give
you
us
go.
the money, all in David's name. He killed his daughter. Oh, but we
Right.
really want to help the family, but David is a murderer. Oh.
It's money. It's money with this GoFundMe thing. It's money with moving forward. It's money, 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 money. Where is the truth? Where is the truth? Where is, you know what? Forget the money, guys. We're going to find out what really happened here. If David did this, then he's a piece of crap, and we're going to show you guys why. And if he didn't do this, then we're going to find out what really happened here. That's where these guys should be. That's where they should have been. What happened? Because if this was another case, if this was somebody that they didn't know, and this was a big primetime case, they probably would have jumped all over it.
Yep.
But no, it's different. It's all different.
was around.
Yeah, and Danny, again, I want to thank you for your time so much, Danny Mason. And by the way, folks, I want to just second what he said there. There are a lot of people frustrated right now. There are a lot of people who are feeling a variety of emotions, from sadness to anger to frustration to disbelief. If you're one of those people and you're watching this and you're wondering, how can I channel energy right now? Don't do something stupid. One of the things you can do in channeling that energy is to support the family of this man who is really struggling right now. We'll put the GoFundMe here in the link on YouTube and also at benswann.com. So if you're watching in either location, absolutely a way that you can help and that you can find a way to be useful in this time, a very difficult time.
Yeah, they're struggling because they want your money. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kamel's family doesn't care about that. They probably didn't even want this mentioned.
Right.
This is something they had at this point had at least been dealing with since the summer of 2014. Like, what does this have to do with any of? I don't know. It's really odd. They're using this forum.
Yeah, they're using the health issues of Komel's mother as a means to make money for themselves. Because, if they had gone and talked to Mr. Alam and said, hey, do you mind if we do this in her memory or to try to help in memory of Kamel? They didn't do any of that. They just jumped on the bandwagon, put this GoFundMe page up, put it under Dan Jr.'s name and said, oh, we're doing this for them. And then their family goes, excuse me, take this down.
Right.
So we see the motivation right there. It had nothing to do with the family, and the family obviously didn't feel it had anything to do with them.
No. And from what I think with the interview that I did with Kamel's family friend, it sounded like they didn't know about this, and they didn't need that money. They didn't need anything like that.
Right.
At some point, Kamel's mom does get better. For whatever is happening here, she does recover for a little while, and I think she did recently pass. But she did get better. Whatever was happening here in 2015, she got a lot better from that.
Yeah,
she was able to go home at least.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she was ill, and I don't think anybody questions that. But see, the drama, this is their wording that they use. Oh, she's dying. She's on her deathbed, to get the sympathy and the empathy of people, so they'll start forking over cash. When in reality, was she sick? Yes, but she wasn't on her deathbed. You don't go on your deathbed for 12 years. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. And that hasn't been 12 years. Yes, that's an exaggeration. But, that's not how quote unquote hospice works. So again, like you said, money, money, money. That's all.
Yeah. And my stepmom was in hospice, and I remember asking one of the nurses, because I was, growing up, it was like I had always heard, if you're in hospice, you're pretty much dead. Okay, but the nurse that I spoke to, and maybe she was just telling me this because, I'm asking her a general question, and she's like, well, I'm not going to tell you that, your mom is going to die, basically, but she says that there are cases where people do recover out of hospice. She said years ago it was different. If you're in hospice, you're pretty much dead. But she made it sound like in the last couple of years, et cetera, whatever, that they're medical.
Well, nowadays I think they kind of use hospice as, if there's really no room for them in the hospital and they need, kind of treatments, and somebody just kind of watch over them, and they can't get anybody to do in-home care, then they may put them in the hospice facility. But they don't go around telling you, okay, they're on their deathbed, we're putting them in hospice, and then, a month later they're going home. That's not how it works. And back then, especially, that wasn't how it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how long she was in hospice for, but it sounded like, she had no idea what was going on during this time. And I think a lot of that, especially after when the other interview, I wish we had the audio, but it wasn't a recorded interview. But Dan Hinnon did speak to Kamel's dad. And from what from what Dan Hinnon has said based on his notes from that talk, which Kamel's family has never said that there was anything wrong, or that what Dan Hinnon said publicly was wrong. So they've never denied that this conversation happened. They've never said that anything that Dan has said wasn't true. And it seemed like Kamel's dad also had questions, and probably has questions. And I think the more that the family, and probably on both sides, these are two big families. They have extended family too.
Yeah.
And the more time that passes, the more that they think about it, the more evidence, the more facts that they have access to, the more that there's a possibility that they may actually help us at some point. They may actually say, you know what, okay, let's at least prove Greg and Dan wrong. Let's prove this Justice for David Crowley Family Facebook group wrong once and for all. And I think that's really hard for them, because I think that they know if they try to do that, they're going to end up right here with us. Yeah. With more questions. They're going to end up suing the Apple Valley Police Department for this crap investigation. I know that they've already had issues with these Gray State goons, these guys who claim to act like they were with them and they wanted to help them and everything. And I think just fed them a lot of BS.
Danny, thank you so much for your time, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again soon.
So that's how they end it there. It just all ends with the same old thing. So I don't know, Catherine, you have any final words? I'm gonna go through some of these comments here in um, what is Rick saying?
Only Sean Wright, and that's because Sean Wright, and that's because he contacted me and he was very rude, very condescending, and would constantly call me really horrible names. So one time I told him, said, dude, you don't know me, don't talk to me like that. And if you can't be nice and a decent human being, then don't talk to me at all. And that was the last we had.
Interesting.
But he blamed David all over the place and telling me what I was for trying to say David was innocent.
This is their friend.
Yeah.
This is their friend. You're defending their quote unquote friend, but you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
You're the bad guy. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But and now I see why you wanted to do this, and I agree with everybody. Danny's body language is so telling. He has a lot of tells, a lot of giveaways. There's very few instances where he was speaking truth in this interview, and why this wasn't a red flag to everybody. I mean, the police, to BCA, to even Ben Swann. Hello. You can see that this guy is not being truthful and honest.
Right. Yep. Well, I think that will kind of wrap this up here. Let's see if there's anything. There's so many good comments coming in. I wish I had more time to really spend on them, but I do want to thank everybody here for joining us, and thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Will, for jumping in, and everybody in our awesome chat room. I really appreciate that, and we will definitely be back talking more. I think we're done with this part, but there's obviously there's still a lot more to cover, a lot more things to talk about. So we will definitely be back here. Thank you all for joining us live. I really appreciate it. Catherine, any final word? Catherine, tell us about your latest video, your latest 2 videos that you just did on your channel.
I know I did a live stream. Finally, did a live stream with Sophie and I. Yeah, I really wish you were there. Okay,
I know. If I could have, I would have been there. I think I was at my dad's wedding at that point.
You were, and you were busy. So next time the issues, Greg will take care. He'll tell me what I did wrong, and we'll get it fixed. But that actually was really good. It went really well. And so I'm going to be setting up another live stream here pretty soon. There's another person who's interested in the case and has been following it, Christy Strickland, who wants to join in. And so I'm going to have her on.
Awesome.
But then Sophie and I just finished doing the blood analysis part 2, where we went through the last of the items that were tested. And we go through and we show you every piece of they're like 90% of the evidence excludes David. David's DNA is excluded. So, and that's what we point out. It's like, if he's guilty of this, if he committed these murders, why is his DNA excluded from a mixture of 2 or more people?
Wow.
Oh, and Sophia put the thing up.
Yep, she put the link in there, right there. There it is.
Thank you, Sophia.
That's how you find Catherine. Thanks, Sophia. Always appreciate it. All right. Well, I will go ahead and shut this one down. And God bless you all again. Thank you all very much for taking the time out to just watch this. Whatever your thoughts are, the whole interview with Danny August Mason and Ben Swann is out there. I'm sure it's everywhere else. You can find it on my channel too. You find it on the same channel here too. In case you just want to watch it without our commentary, you can definitely do that. I was so shocked. A couple days ago, I went looking for it and I could not find it. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I can't find it anywhere. Wow. And I was like, oh, guess where I found it? On my my channel. That's it. That's all there is. So anyways, we'll talk more about that. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And until next time.